Hey YouTube, military gun guy here. Wanted to update you on the status of this Krag rifle build. Basically, I was able to find a really nice barrel on eBay for less than $100. Like, I really got lucky on this one. The bluing is nice, even though I'm going to probably end up refinishing it. The bore in this thing is near perfect. The issue that I actually had two Krag rifles. This is off of a it was a full length that had been cut down to a carbine. And originally I was just going to probably just hang on to this one, but then when I pulled the barrel off, I had a 30-inch barrel that I had pulled off of the other one. There was a crack, very small crack right back here, and it was very hard to tell that the crack was just a superficial scratch or a crack, but then I noticed that it actually went through the back. Now granted, there's not a lot of high stress in that area, and I'm not planning on shooting full power loads, but better to be safe than sorry. I'd rather save my face on this one. So I ended up yanking the barrel off of this, and I found, like I said, I found this one on eBay. All I have to do is install the front sight, and I'm going to actually send this out to a gunsmith friend of mine this weekend so that he can actually set it up and headspace it and go from there. I'm trying to remember the name of the site, but there's actually a site that you can buy reamers and headspace gauges. There's kind of no point. This may only be the only Krag that I end up restoring, you never know, but this guy actually is an ex-armorer in the military, so I trust his work over me rebarreling and headspacing and whatnot. I have no problem yanking the components off and, you know, going from there. Moving along on the stock restoration, this is a piece of wood that I had bought off of eBay. I paid about $55 delivered. It's a beautiful piece of walnut. It's nicely inletted. It will need the holes drilled front and rear, and then this is the original. This is the original stock that had been sporterized. What I used was a chop saw to basically cut that little piece off. Actually, it was a miter saw. I'm sorry. So I basically put this in the miter saw, and then I used the unit. Just kind of came down, cut it, made it a little bit flush, and it went from there. The advantage I have is I have the long barrel, so basically I can actually put this in the action, like so. Maybe not. And then you can this already came pre-drilled. So what I did is I got a couple of pieces of brass rod. There was also a large hole in the middle, and I sort of kind of got a little carried away, and I put a large bolt. I used a angle grinder to cut it off. Kind of try to make everything as even as possible. And then basically what I'm going to use some Loctite as a marker, put a dot on each one, and then I'm going to basically mount it to this, just like that. And then from there, I'm going to drill the holes. I'm going to double check my alignment. And then I'm going to use, like I did on the Berthier rifle, I'm going to use the barrel and the receiver as a sort of a guide. And then I'm going to basically clamp, once the holes are drilled and everything, the epoxy's put in, I'm going to basically put some wax paper down, and then I'm going to epoxy this, put it together, and then I'm going to install maybe probably a couple of zip ties front and back to hold everything in place, and then use my big clamp that I have to clamp the whole thing together. So I should be able to get enough meat on this to clamp it properly. Then again, you never know. So if you're looking to line up a forend, like I did on the Berthier rifle, what I did is I'll just put, you can use like marking, like, you know, you can use almost anything, to be honest. It's just going to basically put a little bit there, okay? And then what I'm going to do, it's going to get all over my floor, but I don't care, it's tile. So I'm going to kind of line this up, just like that, okay? And then when I pull back, I'll have kind of a rough idea of where I'm going to drill the holes. So that way I can go in, I can drill the holes accordingly, and then epoxy this thing, clamp it together, let it dry for about a good 12 hours, using the barrel as kind of an alignment tool. Clamp it really good, and then when I'm done, then I can do the finishing. The nice thing about this is that, well, A, your marks are pretty clear. This thing will focus. Come on, focus. Not going to focus. Your marks are nice and clear about where you're going to do the holes. You know, and then you can use obviously the size of the rod as a gauge. Generally, what I do is I'll put this flat, like say on a countertop, and I have my drill has a level gauge on it. So I'll just make sure that I'm drilling nice and straight, because you want this nice and straight to go in, so that way, you know, everything lines up perfectly. Double check your fit, because once you epoxy it, this thing's like literally an utter pain in the ass to get off. It's like the chances of getting it off are slim to none. But this will form a nice, your barrel band will go up against here, right in this area, and this will go deep enough into the stock to where it'll actually reinforce it without you having to worry about this thing breaking, because the side-to-side movement will be taken up, you know, by that. So you're going to have a nice and tight and very strong repair that will probably last the life of the rifle. This came pre-drilled with a large, looks like a 1/2 inch hole right there. I put a piece of galvanized bolt in there, and then I cut the head off. I probably wouldn't do that again in the future. I might just use a large dowel, because it's kind of a pain in the ass and it adds some extra weight. And I don't know if it's actually necessarily going to give any extra real strength to it. I mean, it couldn't hurt, but it's one more large hole you have to drill, which I'm not super thrilled about, because obviously you're going to be losing some meat. The nice thing is you can tell actually the outer shell of this, I mean, the actual inner matches pretty well, the original walnut. So once this is done and tie this in tight, I'm going to probably chemically clean this. Might even put it, I'm going to give it another cleaning. I have a small crack I have to drill also to fix. I'll drill basically down in there and put a piece of dowel, a little bit of fiberglass with some epoxy, and then clean that up. There's a little piece that also had broken off. You can see the shyness. I haven't cleaned this one up yet. And there's a little side piece also that needs a little bit of attention as well. But this is a beautiful stock. It's going to look gorgeous when I'm done. It has the, you know, the P-proof mark you may be able to see. It still has the mark from the inspector. So I'm going to do my best to preserve what's left of that. And then when it's done, like I said, I'll stain it and finish it, and this thing will look about as good as a full-length rifle stock that was cut from one piece of wood. So stay tuned. When I come back, I'll kind of show you how everything put together, and then we'll go from there. Hey YouTubers, I am back with my Krag rifle restoration, stock restoration. You can kind of see the contraption that I have rigged up. I basically have a long clamp I got from Harbor Freight, and I got a smaller clamp. There's some wax paper there, you can see, and I use zip ties to secure it. This is pretty much dry. You can see I also use blocks because I wanted to center this piece. I actually need to fill it once I pull the barrel, but I need to fill it on the inside with some more epoxy to strengthen it up. And then from there, just a matter of dressing it, cleaning up all the old epoxy, making sure it's dialed in, and then staining it. I need to clean this part one more time so that this is as light as possible. Then I'll stain it to match, top coat it, and it's pretty much done. So as we're basically, as the steps kind of progress, I'll show you what we have going. But like I said, for now I wanted to show you the rig that I had set up. You can see where the back part of the clamp hooks onto the receiver. I have a couple of zip ties that hold the barrel and basically keep it nice, the fore end nice and true. I have the 2 brass rods inside plus the middle galvanized bolt, which honestly I don't recommend. You're probably better off with a dowel. It was a bigger pain in the ass than it was worth. And then I actually put a block of wood to kind of protect this a little bit, give a little bit more fore and aft pressure. And then from here I also, you can kind of see it offset a little bit because I needed to kick this over just a bit. And anything that's a little off, you can always dress it up with a file. Obviously not getting too carried away because you don't want to lose the integrity of the wood, but to where it makes the repair invisible. This will all be cleaned up. You won't see any of this, and then once it's installed, the barrel band will actually hide the seam. So you're pretty much going to be perfect. So stay tuned for more of this restore.